The scream of spinning metal was already too late. Water thundered inside the washer like a storm trapped in a cage, and behind the glass a tiny German Shepherd puppy pressed its paws against the door, eyes wide with terror, fur plastered to its fragile body. In that moment, cruelty had a face, and mercy felt impossibly far away. What happened next would change not only that puppy's fate, but the lives of everyone who crossed its path. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of doing what's right even when it's hard, take a second to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this only matter if they reach hearts. The woman who owned the house had a reputation in the neighborhood, though few ever said it out loud. She was sharp-edged, impatient, the kind of person whose anger arrived before her thoughts. The puppy had come into her life unplanned, a gift she never wanted, a responsibility she resented from the start. He was only a few months old, all oversized paws and clumsy devotion, following her from room to room with blind trust. To her, he was noise, mess, inconvenience. To him, she was his whole world. That morning, frustration boiled over. The puppy had knocked over a bowl of water, splashing the clean floor she had just wiped. In a moment that would echo for years, she grabbed him, ignoring his confusion and the frantic beat of his heart. The washer door opened, cold and hollow, and she shoved him inside as if discarding trash. The machine started, and the house filled with the mechanical roar of something unforgivable. What she didn't know was that fate had already begun to move. Down the street, a Navy SEAL on leave was returning from a quiet morning run. Years of combat had sharpened his senses in ways civilian life never dulled. He heard something wrong in the air, a sound that didn't belong. It wasn't the washer itself, but the faint, desperate scratching layered beneath it, a rhythm of panic. His body reacted before his mind did. Training took over. He followed the sound to the house, heart pounding with the same urgency he felt on missions where lives hung by seconds. The front door was unlocked. He stepped inside and froze. What he saw slammed into him harder than any battlefield memory. The washer shook violently, water sloshing inside, and behind the glass was the puppy, struggling, slipping, eyes pleading without understanding. The men moved with explosive speed. He cut the power, yanked the door open, and pulled the puppy out, water pouring onto the floor like tears finally released. The puppy lay limp in his arms, coughing weakly, chest fluttering. The SEAL knelt there, hands steady, mind focused, doing what he had done for injured teammates countless times. He cleared the airway, rubbed warmth back into the soaked body, refusing to let panic win. The woman stood frozen, anger replaced by shock, but he barely noticed her. His entire world had narrowed to the rise and fall of a tiny chest. Slowly, painfully slowly, the puppy breathed. A shudder ran through his body, then another. Life fought its way back in. That moment cracked something open in the man. He had seen destruction, had carried loss heavier than words, but this was different. This was innocence nearly erased by cruelty. When the puppy's eyes fluttered open and locked onto his, a bond formed without ceremony or permission. The puppy didn't know who had saved him. He only knew safety had returned. Authorities were called, consequences followed, but those details faded behind what mattered most. The Navy SEAL refused to leave the puppy behind. He wrapped him in his jacket, feeling the small heartbeat against his chest, and walked out of that house knowing his life had just changed. Recovery was not easy. The puppy suffered from fear long after the water dried from his fur. Sudden noises sent him shaking. Spinning objects made him cower. Nights were the worst, when memories returned in dreams he didn't understand. The men learned patience on a new battlefield. He slept on the floor beside the puppy, whispered reassurance with every breath, and celebrated small victories like the first time the puppy wagged his tail again. In caring for the dog, the men began to heal too. Combat had left him with invisible scars, nights haunted by images he couldn't escape. The puppy didn't ask questions or demand explanations. He simply stayed close, a warm presence against the darkness. When the men woke from nightmares, the puppy was there, pressing his head into his chest, reminding him he was not alone. Months passed. Strength returned to the puppy's legs, confidence slowly replacing fear. His coat grew thick and glossy, his eyes bright with intelligence and loyalty. Training sessions became moments of joy rather than work. The German Shepherd proved to be everything his breed promised. Brave, devoted, eager to protect. But more than that, he was gentle, especially with children and anyone who carried sadness in their posture. The bond between them deepened into something unbreakable. The men named him a word that meant survivor, a quiet acknowledgement of what they had both endured. Together, they volunteered at shelters, visited veterans struggling like the men once had, and stood as living proof that healing was possible. People who heard their story often wiped tears from their eyes, not because of the cruelty at the beginning, but because love had the final word. One afternoon, years later, the men watched the dog run freely across an open field, powerful and confident, nothing like the trembling puppy pulled from a washer. The sun was clear, the air calm. In that moment, the men understood that saving the dog had saved him too. Purpose had returned. Hope had grown roots. If this story is touching something deep inside you right now, if you feel that mix of anger at cruelty and gratitude for kindness, please pause and engage with this video. Your likes, shares, and comments help stories like this reach people who desperately need them. Before we end, I want to ask you one special thing. Please comment the word hope below if you believe that compassion can change lives, no matter how dark the beginning. The world can be cruel, and sometimes evil appears without warning. But it only takes one person willing to act, one moment of courage, to change everything. A puppy meant to be forgotten became a symbol of resilience. A man trained for war found peace in saving a life. And together, they remind us that even when humanity fails, humanity can also rise.